So when exactly in the war time period does their economy collapse, and how does this just ultimately lead to their downfall?
Yeah, it's a continuous process throughout the entire conflict. So the U.S. military's strategy to win this war, that it's colloquially called the Anaconda Plan. Part one of that is blockade Confederate ports with warships so they can't get supplies. Part two is cut the Mississippi River in half so the Confederacy is split and isolated. And then part three is invade all of these subdivided elements and destroy the Confederacy, what's left of it, bit by bit. So the blockade does take a long time to work, but it does choke the Confederacy of supplies. Uh, the United States Navy and the United States Army seize critical ports or close critical ports. New Orleans is captured in 1862. Mobile Bay is captured in 1864. Wilmington, North Carolina is captured in 1865. Charleston is blockaded effectively in 1863. Savannah, Georgia is blockaded effectively in 1862. And so this means that the fewer ports the Confederates have, the fewer supplies they can receive abroad. And yeah, they're not, the Confederacy isn't literally starving. Yeah, there are food shortages, but it's because their rail networks are collapsing. They can sustain enough food production within their borders. And the Confederacy tries to build up an infrastructure of industrial capacity through building more factories. The problem is that they need even more than what they're producing. And so, there was never a case where the Confederates sent soldiers into battle without guns. They were always able to find firearms and so on. But were they the best quality? Were they all the top of the line, or were they older relics from a different period? Is a different question. And so, the Confederacy is stripped of these supplies slowly over the course of the war. Now, the gold comes into a factor because if they can get all that gold to Europe, they can purchase supplies and they can purchase essentially warships to escort all those supplies and break the U.S. blockade, bring in 100,000 guns in one trip or something along those lines. And then that can make a real difference because all of a sudden, all the Confederate armies have brand new weapons with the latest technology and they're able to go toe for toe, and that might cause a real problem. So it's not really until the end of the war, late 1864, where the Confederacy's infrastructure begins to completely collapse, and that's because the Anaconda Plan has worked. They're blockaded. The Mississippi River is cut in half, and so the Confederacy is split. And then those interior ports, Atlanta is captured in mid-1864, the March to the Sea by William Tecumseh Sherman and so on. They're destroying the Confederacy's transportation networks, and the last few ports are blocked up and taken. And so everything kind of just really falls apart in this January, February, March, April 1865 time period when there are no ports left and there are no railroads left and there's nobody left to fight with. And so they're running out of soldiers, they're running out of material. And so it brings about an ultimate conclusion.
Yeah, the Anaconda Plan worked brilliantly, and what a poetic name for this plan. Really represents their goal, and they get squeezed dry. As we know, the Confederacy loses, they surrender.